been a while.
I wonder why. What happened that we missed?
What was going on the last month?
I was tired. I didn't want to talk about soccer anymore.
Yeah.
I just was fed up with
I was
that.
in Canada. I was
Doing
in Canada.
what? What took you to Canada?
Nothing really exciting. We did win a World Cup there, and I was there for that.
The
and
what?
It was World
Is
Cup?
that what was going on in Canada? I heard something about this.
World Cup?
That's a big
North
cup.
America Cup? Yeah.
The,
We're like one
America.
step away from
America
the Galaxy Cup, the World Cup. One day we will beat the teams of Jupiter, but not today.
Not today.
But the last time we spoke, I believe it was the last podcast we did, maybe. I got real intense about how I wanted us to win the World Cup and how there was no not winning to me. There was just winning, and
I think that intensity just pressured him.
Yes, I think Emily Mine just probably saw it. Obviously watches it regularly and probably reported back to Alex and Tobin about the intensity.
And then they told Carly.
Yeah.
And Sauerberg.
And then they did all the work. And then Carly and Becky Sauerberg did all the work. Yeah. Basically, that's what happened. Yeah, it was fantastic. Very exciting. Great game. You know, just if you're watching this game thinking, oh yeah, I want to see if America wins. I don't really like soccer, but you know, it's a big sporting event. You're just tuning in. I think seeing that many goals will just get fans into the game. When you see a 1-0 scoreline, even if you're a fan of soccer, it can be a boring game. I mean, obviously there are exciting 1-0 games and exciting 0-0 draws, for God's sake. But I think seeing a lot of 7 goals scored is just it's exciting. You know, high scoring games are always exciting. Yeah. Yeah.
That was an exciting game. I remember sitting there as in bullpen with Emily. And just like 2 minutes in, Carly Lloyd had her goal. And I'm like, that's nifty.
Couldn't believe it. 2 minutes in after that first goal, I don't know how you felt. Because he and I weren't together. He was here in Portland and I was up in Canada. So we didn't really talk to each other during the game. But I personally felt like excited, yes, of course, cheering, obviously. But after that first goal, my thought was great. Now we have to defend for 88 minutes, which is always the concern. You score that early is that you get complacent. But then, we scored immediately after. My first reaction to that second goal was that was offsides. There's no way this is happening. Like it didn't register that we could possibly be up by 2 goals in the first 5 minutes. Just didn't seem. I had run every scenario in my head for this game. I had mentally prepared for every scenario of going to penalty kicks, going to extra time, all these worst case scenarios, and never in my wildest dreams would it have occurred to me that by halftime I would have been like, I can go to the bathroom, I want to grab some peanuts and do whatever. Like, it was the least stressful game I've ever been to.
It kind of was, but at the same time I worried that complacency would set in.
Right.
That and it didn't.
Right.
I mean, the Japanese got in a couple goals. That's because they're just crafty like that. Hats off to the Japanese, because in spite of being down as many goals as they were the entire time, like, they did not give up. They didn't play like, well, we're done. They're like, they knew they were done, but they still put up a good fight.
Up until the last 9 minutes of the game, they were still going at it. And I think it was something of a Hail Mary pass for Japan to put in Hamari Sawa as early as they did. I think they put her in she was a second sub, put her in real early, and she's kind of their Christy Rampone, but in terms of her on the field, she's kind of their Abby Wambach. She won, Golden Ball last World Cup. She's just a very good player. She's not as good as she was, but I think putting her on the field was kind of like bring us that, veteran presence, bring us some of that magic. And she had a terrible game. She had a yellow card. She had like 3 or 4 fouls. One of the fouls, I think, if I'm not mistaken, resulted in a free kick that resulted in a goal. She did not have a good game. So kind of a Hail Mary pass that went real, real bad for them.
They tried.
They did try.
I imagine though that she was just frustrated more than anything, like watching. Like, how do you think that feels like to get subbed in and watching your team down that many goals? What minute was she subbed in at?
I want to say 30. Definitely the first half. I want to say like
2
30.
Subs in the first half. You knew the Japanese were shitting.
Well, they subbed off that poor girl who was supposed to be marking Carly for the first 2 goals. They subbed her off right away because bad job. Job failed. But so they subbed her out, and then they subbed in Hamari Sawa. I think is just like a presence more than what she was capable of. Just like that, having that, your captain. But wow. So I have a question for you, because this is something that we talked about during halftime at the game. And feel free to weigh in on this. If you're playing in a World Cup final, if you're going to lose, would you rather lose the way the Japanese did, where you basically, you're fighting and whatever, but you basically knew around the 15th minute that you're going to lose? Or would you rather lose kind of like the way England did, where it's not an own goal necessarily, but just that last second? Like, I almost think the last second thing is more devastating than getting clobbered,
I think if you lose the way that the Japanese did, it's less heartbreaking. Which
is weird, because you get embarrassed. It's embarrassing to go down 4 goals in 15 minutes.
But I think you can like prepare yourself for that.
Yeah.
So soon into the match, or that early into the match,
right.
Like, okay, we're not going to dig ourselves out of this, and you can kind of mentally prepare for it, and you can still put up a really good fight. Whereas the way England lost, it's like they were fighting up until the very last minute because they still had a chance.
Right.
And they played with their entire heart in that, like, with everything. Not to say the Japanese did it, because they did, but I think, the English had a fighting chance, which the Japanese didn't. And to watch England lose the way they did on that own goal, that's devastating.
Yeah.
That's a sucker punch right there.
Oh, yeah, that was terrible.
They didn't have a chance to prepare themselves for that hit to the gut. It just kind of came out of nowhere.
So you're saying you'd rather lose the way
the Japanese did?
Yeah.
I'd rather just prepare.
You'd rather be on the field in the 15th minute and know you have to play 75 more minutes of you losing. Yeah.
I think so. I'd rather, because I could prepare myself for it that way.
Yeah.
But I'm also not a soccer player, so this is complete conjecture on my part.
And so you think, I think that's probably why you saw way more tears from England than you saw from Japan. There were some crying. The goalkeeper obviously was sobbing at the end of the game. It was miserable to watch. But I think no one else, I guess it was because you couldn't prepare for it,
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a big conversation we had at halftime, and I felt bad for Japan. When we got the 4th goal, it was like, it's a final. It's a final, and you're lucky if you see a 2-1 final. To see a 5-2 final is insane.
I think I tweeted, like, after the 2nd goal that, hey, we got your back, England. Because I'll be honest, with the way that England went out, I was not happy with the Japanese because of the way their little post-dance celebration. And that's kind of disrespectful because of just how everything went down.
Because of how it happened, exactly.
And
if they had gotten a stunner of a last goal, it would have been, if they had scored it and it had been beautiful or whatever, it would have been a different story. And
I also think it's because they didn't play that well.
Right.
They are a team that, like, all they did this entire match was eke out, like, a 1-point win. But they
didn't win by more than 1 goal in any game.
And that's all that was good enough for them. That's all they needed. And I'm like, I wasn't too impressed with Japan. When you watch a team like England, which was, I think the true dark horses of the match, more so than Australia, no one counted on England getting as far as they did, but they gave the Japanese a hell of a time. And you see,
they played better than Japan. I think anyone will say that.
And so to watch the way the Japanese kind of celebrated their win, I'm like, you didn't deserve that. And that right there is, like, to me, I found that to be really disrespectful.
Yes.
But then, like, at the end of the U.S., so, when we're 2 goals in and I tweeted, hey, we got your back, England, and then all of a sudden we're up 5 goals in the second half, I'm just like, oh, that sucks. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Do you think there's something you said? Okay, so kind of 2 questions to bring up here. One more of a statement, but this is kind of what happens when, and my sister brought this up, this is kind of what happens when you have America, Germany, France on the same side of the bracket, is that you get a 5-2 final. Do you know what I mean? You have these monster, and that's a FIFA thing, more than anything, is you have these monster teams. And I think on any day of the week, Germany, France, and America could have won. If Sweden had opened their eyes a little bit more, and they had a better tournament, then they could have probably done better.
I think maybe Germany would have had a better chance had they a harder group. Because look what happened. They steamrolled their entire group stage. And I think the bulk of their matches were against much weaker teams. and they steamrolled through. They didn't have a chance to really kind of work out the quirks of their lineup. And all of a sudden, here comes France. Well, who did they played? Was it Sweden?
Sweden. They kind of handed it to Sweden, but Sweden had a terrible tournament.
Yeah, Sweden.
But I think mentally, when you're going from your weak group and going to Sweden and clobbering, I don't remember what the scoreline was, but they outplayed them. They just plain out.
I could have sworn they drew against Sweden.
No, it was a knockout round, so they beat them. I think it was like 3-1. If someone wants to correct me on that, they knocked Sweden out of the park. But Sweden had a terrible. Yeah, Norway is the team that they drew.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, Germany walks away from Sweden thinking, well, we had that easy group, but we clobbered Sweden. I mean, maybe not fully grasping the fact that Sweden was just playing like crap the entire tournament. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think had Germany, if Germany had a more difficult group, they probably could have done better in those last few matches. They just were unimpressive. I mean, they were good, but how good can you possibly be when your group contains Ivory Coast,
right?
And Thailand too, right?
Yeah.
I think they had Thailand, and it's like everyone's talking about like Shasic and what's the other one that scored? Mitag, yeah, and just how great they were in Golden Boot winners. And I'm like, well, yeah. So half their goals they scored came against the Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
Big whoop.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's foolish to look at the opponents.
Yeah. And then you see and then France comes along and really exposes Germany's weakness.
And we benefited from that.
Oh, yeah.
We benefited from Japan having a hard game against England and Germany having a hard game against France because we were able to look at that and expose those weaknesses for ourselves. We were able to look at what France did and do that. We were able to look at the fact that France beat them on the wings. And guess what? Our formation was as soon as we took on Germany was a genius. The formation that everyone was saying they should have been playing, but heavy on the on people playing their correct positions on the flanks. And then Japan, England kind of just ran them down. And we were able to look at that and see and I mean obviously it worked. Obviously because we outplayed Germany, we outscored Germany, but we outplayed Germany too, which is more important I think at that stage. Because you don't want to have a crappy win like Japan did. Going into the final, you don't want to have that crappy win.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably what helped us the most against Japan too.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Demolished them.
And I mean, maybe they didn't have the confidence either.
But I think also what probably helped as well is that for whatever reason, the Japanese captain chose the wrong side of the pitch. And their poor goalkeeper had the sun in her face the entire time.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I told my sister when we sat down, we got to look at the pitch. The side that Carly scored 3 times on had all the bright sun, and I said, if we don't get that side first, like if hope isn't in that side, I think we're gonna win. I actually said that because the sun was so bright, and my sister's like, I think the sun will be down further by the time the game actually starts, and it really wasn't. I mean, it was bad.
Well, so when I watched the England-Canada match, which was like at the same time. I was over on that side of the pitch, and that sun was up for the entire first half. Like I baked. It's brutal. So I don't know why they chose that. And one of the commentators I was listening to from like one of the podcasts was saying that when the Whitecaps have games, they never start on that side of the pitch.
Really? Yeah.
You will see them if they win that toss. They will never take that side of the pitch because a lot of their matches.
It's blinding.
Yeah, a lot of their matches start at that exact same time. It's just interesting that that's what they went with.
I mean, we won the coin toss, so we obviously chose this side specifically.
I had heard that they won the coin toss.
Oh, did they?
That's what I've been.
I was basing it on my view, and it looked like we would because I saw Carly point to.
Yeah, because this was kind of like the crux of people's arguments about how Japan played. It started with the fact that they won the coin toss and decided to put their goalkeeper down at the end that they started at.
Yeah.
This is what I'm remembering, and if I'm wrong, someone tell me. But this is what I've been hearing.
Okay, so now let's bring up this post-World Cup world that we're living in, where people at your work or at your school are probably talking about Megan Rapinoe and Carly Lloyd right now and what that's like. And now we have these bandwagon fans that are kind of coming into our fandom. That's, I think, grating on Ryan and I a little bit. We talked about this a little bit before the show. And I think everyone who has these niche sort of things kind of holds them close, and you know, everyone knows everyone, you know, through Twitter or through, you know, so everyone, you know, there's this niche group, and we all love this thing so much, and we all know everything about it. And when other people try to come in, we're like, wait a second, you're like, what's the passcode here? You know? So, and I think that's, I mean, that's with anything. Since we're living in this world where US wins and they're now household names, we're getting a lot more of that. And for fans like us who say we want to grow the game so much, we can't bitch when these people come into our world and say things that maybe aren't right.
Yeah, well, and so just the background of this conversation, I was talking about how I've kind of been getting tired of the general negativity of WWC Twitter, like especially with the whole the ticker tape parade, and I'm guilty of this. I bitched. I spent an hour at work tweeting my rage at NYCFC and the Red Bulls. And what are you guys doing? Turns out the Red Bulls at least had some women up on. I don't know who knows what NYCFC had. I don't like them anyways.
I think whatever they did end up having, if it wasn't the team and themselves, it was in response to the outrage that they got.
Yeah.
Like we'll never know what the original intention was for either teams because the outrage was so fast and so voluminous, like and just so many tweets. If you looked at I've never seen so much negativity when NYCFC tweeted out that they would be in the parade. Every comment from men and women, every comment was negative. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And I think I tweeted out, the only thing I really tweeted out on the topic was, this is like the only time you should read the comments, because everyone was like, this is the US's time, you know, they deserve this, why are you here, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, but the ripple effect has been kind of frustrating.
It has been, because I mean, I think there's still some of that lingering negativity. And, you know, and we didn't just see it with U.S. women's team in general. We saw it within the Riveters as well. The idea of, you know, when, you know, at our July 22nd match against the Reign, there's going to be a little thank you thing to the national players. This is the first match that they're going to be playing back with their respective clubs. And the outrage on Twitter, I'm just like, it's over Hope Solo because she's such a polemical figure. And the amount of outrage over that, I'm just like, for half a second.
Yeah, just be cool for half a second. You guys cheered for her the entire World Cup. You cheered for the entire World Cup. Just be cool for like 2 seconds. Yeah,
just say, okay, thank you. And then at the end, she's got her Reign kit on, and then go back to booing her.
I mean,
but I mean, there's just between that. So there was the negativity going around Riveters Twitter, and then the negativity that's been going around since just WWC Twitter in general is tiring. And
there is so much negativity, and the frustrating thing is there's so much to celebrate about so many new fans coming in, about, you know, celebrating all of these women that have worked their butts off to get this trophy, and all the women that didn't win the trophy but still worked their butts off. There's so much to celebrate. There's so much good news. Why are we spending so much time being angry as a fandom? Not just us.
I guess maybe in a way I kind of understand it, because the thing that I'm thinking about is that the match that we played against Seattle, we sold 16,000 tickets. Merritt Paulson's thinking this could be a sellout crowd. And my first thought is, there better not be people sitting in our seats.
Yeah.
Because that's where we've been.
Right.
Welcome to the Riveters in the 107 section, but do not sit in these seats.
Yes.
These are ours. I have put a lot of blood, well, not blood, I put a lot of sweat and spilled beer into this, and I have.
Right.
So in a way, I kind of get this hesitancy with all the new people.
Right.
But at the same time, we can't say, grow the game, but you're going to come in and you're going to keep your mouth shut until you learn how to actually speak this language, until you learn how to think like the rest of us.
And then what is that line that's being drawn then? At what point are people enough of a fan to have their opinions matter? Because no matter what, your opinion matters if you're new to soccer or if you've loved them since 1999. Your opinion matters. This is your fandom too. This is your team too. This is your country too. This is your city too. And it's frustrating to see how much negativity is being tossed around.
This is kind of why I prefer WWC Tumblr, because it's a bunch of GIFs. It's a bunch of GIF sets. You know, it's like Morgan Bryan GIFs and Megan Rapinoe GIFs. And occasionally there's a bitchy post or two, but mostly it's look how wonderful these people are. And it's kind of refreshing. I like that. In Twitter, I just kind of I just want to turn away. Because it's like, why? What are we complaining about?
And I think one person, so John tweeting us. I think he's a good example of someone who never really partakes in the negativity, and that's one of the reasons he's one of my favorite Twitter follows. He just messaged us and said, we want fans, good ones and bad ones. Who cares? Exactly right, because fans buy tickets and t-shirts and beer, and fans keep this league that we love so much growing.
Yep.
So who cares what their opinions are, or how much they know about Hope Solo's criminal history, or how much they like Alex Morgan, or how much they hate Seattle? Who cares? As long as they buy tickets to games and t-shirts and jerseys and talk to other people about it.
We want them to keep coming back. Yeah. Because the concern now is this surge in attendance. Is it sustainable? The Dash saw 13,000 roughly.
Yeah, it was a good crowd.
Can they sustain that?
Right.
I want to see them sustain it.
Absolutely.
Seattle had a good crowd. They had like 6,000.
They called it a sellout, I think, for like half the.
Yeah, well, they only.
Field. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I don't know why they don't open up the other side of Moda.
Maybe
it's more disgusting and they just don't want to let it's too close to the
it
garbage
might be a
cans.
safety concern.
The tetanus. And sit over here at your own risk. There's probably tetanus and hepatitis floating around. Here's some wet wipes. Welcome and have fun.
But I mean, everyone's, even Sky Blue saw like 3,000, and for people who go to those games often, they said it seemed like a really good crowd. Which, I mean, if you're comparing it to like the 87 people who were there for one game last season, I mean, obviously 3,000 is going to seem like a huge number, and good for them for drawing that number.
For Sky Blue, 3,000 is a great number. That's almost twice what they normally see.
Yeah, absolutely.
If not more.
So Ryan and I are kind of equally frustrated about the Twitterverse. I think you more so, you brought it up to me, and I'm definitely in agreement. I can't say I'm not guilty of it, but I can say that I am bringing a new soccer fan to the game on the 22nd. I can say that.
Ooh.
Yeah, a coworker who has been like lightly into soccer, like a little bit, but never been to a Thorns game, never been to a Timbers game, post World Cup into it, and I said, we'll get you there. So yeah, I mean, just make friends, bring people. That's one of the big things I've always said about Thorns games is I always say, like, your first game's on me, because I want to just bring people into that world so they can experience it.
Yeah.
And just freaking buy a $13 ticket and take a friend. It's like not that much.
And I think, and the thing that I love about going to Thorns matches is that it's still relatively new. Though sitting in the Riveters, it's still a relatively new supporter section. We had, and it's not quite as entrenched. Whereas going into, say, the Timbers Army, where you and I sit for Riveters, I would never want to go down there for a Timbers Army match, because there are people who've been there for years. That's an area like I don't want to go stepping on people's toes. There's so much, and this isn't. That's because they're just like, I want to be able to respect people's traditions, because I know how much they love the game and how much time they've put into that section. And it's the same way I would feel if I found a whole group of people sitting where you and I normally sit, because it's like, I have baked in the sun.
Yeah.
And I have cheered for this team when they were down by 4 goals.
Yeah.
And watched, like, I almost dropped my phone. So I kind of get that. But at the same time,
you and I have talked. Oh, sorry. Finish your thought.
I'll say, so anyways, no, I just got, sorry, go.
Well, we have talked about that in terms of the bad parts of the Timbers Army is that they can feel a little bit like a bro club in some respects. You know what I mean?
Can you kind of click
not a bro club in terms of it just being men, but in terms of just very cliquey and very. If we were to go and get seats in 107 at a Timbers match, there would be people giving us the stink eye the whole time, and I get that, but I mean, at least it's the same in bro soccer as it is in women's soccer. So I don't know.
Yeah. So what did our dear friend John say?
This is John. I was a little disappointed that Sky Blue players didn't stuff a bit of the parade confetti in their shirts and let it spill out during the game. That would have been awesome.
That would have been.
Kelly O'Hara tweeted after the game that, it's a good day when you have gold confetti stuck to your butt in the shower.
It's like sand.
She's
been pulling confetti out. So now that So the other thing I was thinking about is, what are the NWSL teams going to look like once the national team players are back? Because you and I discussed this earlier about the amount of traveling that all the national team players have had. Is like they haven't really had any downtime. No sleep. If you look at the interviews with any of them, they'll say like, I slept for like 2 hours last night. I mean, obviously they've been on the media circuit. They've been doing morning shows through evening shows through traveling to New York to LA when would they sleep? Like, there's just not enough hours in the day. Yeah. And so the thing I think about all these new fans is that they're coming in and they're expecting a national team quality match at the NWSL level, which is not going to happen.
Right.
I'm sorry. Like, the teams are good, but they're not going to be that good.
And here's the thing about it is that if you were to really invest time and you're living in Houston and you want to go to a game and you really want to invest time in that club, there are some great stories and great personalities and great players and great people to like and jerseys to want to buy from all the teams that have nothing to do with national team players. I mean, there's just fun characters on each team. Each city has at least one player where you can look at the team and go, I like that player. I like that one. I don't like that team. I don't like Seattle, but I like Bev Goebel. I like Kim Little. I mean,
Kim Little's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, even teams that I actively dislike, I can still find players that I enjoy. So, I mean, you don't need all those national team players to really dig the teams.
I wonder, it's a Jason Davis on Soccer Morning brought up a point about, he's talking about Carly Lloyd and the rest of the national team players and what it's going to be like to go from that level of play at the World Cup with everyone else on the national team down to the NWSL level. And he wasn't implying that the NWSL level is an inferior product, but that the style of play is going to be different.
Right. And
I think the fans are going to have that too. Like, we're going to have a lot of people coming into these matches expecting a national team quality game, and they're not going to get that. And hopefully they at least stick around, at least something exciting happens. I mean, I think something will. Just a slight side note, watching the Seattle Reign match versus the Flash, that was a good game. I thought that was an exciting game. And even though the Reign won.
I agree, exciting if you eliminate who won and what happened.
Oh, yeah. But there was no national team players present. Just wait until the national team players come in. The quality of play is going to go up. You hope it goes up. But now we're running into this problem where the national team players are going to come in. They're interjected into a team that doesn't know how to play with them anymore because they've had to develop a style without the national teamers. And so you're going to have these people, these new fans coming in, and they're probably going to see some really lopsided play. And hopefully, my big concern is that they're not going to stick around for that. I mean, and this is something that I think has precedence. Generally speaking, WOSO fans and even the newbies don't really care about the club level. It's all country. And if club isn't performing as well as country, no one's going to pay attention. I think that's something that does concern me.
I mean, a perfect example of what you're saying is the game last year where Steph Catley, Vero, and Alex Morgan, all these huge names that we've been anticipating the whole season, get injected into our team out of basically nowhere. They've been there, I think. Alex had been healthy for about a week, and Vero and Catley have been there for about a week. Yeah. I mean, they have, about a week, I want to say, where they've all been together, and then we just got blown out. But how many fans were in the seats, little girls, I mean, there to see Alex Morgan because it was her first game back last season, and we just get blown out. And I mean, that kind of stuff is going to happen. It's going to happen because I can't even think of an analogy, but you're basically taking a system that kind of works, kind of sort of works. Take the Thorns, kind of sort of works right now. We're not losing by 5 goals anymore. We're losing by 1 goal, but we're losing by 1 goal a lot. But we're losing by only 1 goal. And then you inject these talented players for sure. No one's debating that. You inject them, and all of a sudden, what was kind of working before, maybe we do fantastic, or maybe it all blows up in our face. Either way, it's not going to be pretty to watch. I don't think it's going to be good.
No, this is going to be a fun match. And for those of us, though, who have suffered through this club, it's like, it'll be exciting. Yeah. It may not be pretty, but it's going to be exciting. Yeah. It's going to be fun to watch.
But I mean, Seattle to some extent is dealing with it as well. I mean, they've got, Naomi, and they've got,
Is Naomi coming back? She was on loan last season. Like, she was not.
I think she's coming back.
Do you think we'll see Abby?
No.
Are we sure?
I based my no strictly on a quote that I saw, not an interview that I saw, but simply a quote that I saw from Megan Rapinoe of someone asking if Abby was going to play for Seattle. And Rapinoe saying, I keep trying to get her to play, but I don't think she will. Which seems like an oddly honest point for Megan Rapinoe to make if she thought there was any chance that Abby would consider it.
Rapinoe scares me.
Yeah, I mean, she would do well.
I'm thinking about that match. It's like, it doesn't, like, thinking about the upcoming match, like, of everyone on Seattle that's coming back. Well, Hope scares me too, because Hope's just good. There's just no way around that. She's just really good. And considering the way our strikers have suffered, in the past, like we can have Sinclair, we'll have Morgan. They haven't played together. They're not going to have a whole lot of time together.
I mean, hopefully Catley's like foot is broken or something. I don't even know what her injury is, but of course, it is.
Oh, wait. Alex Morgan may not even be available.
Yeah, Alex Morgan's probably not going to play.
She's injured.
Alex Morgan's going to play. Steph Catley's probably not going to play. I mean, unless her random foot injury thing is like not as bad as we think, but it probably is way worse than we think because that's how it works with the Thorns. Tobin will suffer some sort of random foot problem as she does. It's Tobin. And, Nadine Unger will Nadine Unger and will allow 6 goals.
So Nadine is like, when I was in physics, and I was taking physics, back in my undergrad, there's an equation that relates the gravitational pull between 2 bodies. And essentially the further you get from one body, the gravitational influence drops quite a bit. Like it's 1 over the radius squared or the distance squared. Like it's a huge effect. And that's like Nadine when she gets out of her box. For every inch Nadine gets out of her box, she becomes that much less useful as a goalkeeper. And I don't want to see her back in the goal box. I'm sorry.
No, me either.
I want to keep Betos there because Nadine, I love her to death. But
she didn't have a great tournament. I mean, she had a fine tournament. I mean, when you have the German back line in front of your goal, of course you're not going to let in that many goals. But, she doesn't now. So I don't want to see her in. And she was pretty crappy last season and the first half of this season. Mm-hmm. Michelle Betos has been consistent. Michelle Betos has given up 1 goal.
2.
I mean, like 1 goal, 1 game, 2 goals, another game. But 1 goal when you give up, like we did against
the Breakers and against
when you give up 1 goal, that should not be the nail in the coffin every freaking time. I'm sorry, I've had this conversation with so many of you, and I'm so sorry if I'm repeating myself, and I know that I am. But when you give up 1 goal as a goalkeeper, that should be an okay game because you should have at least 2 goals sometimes. But we just are not getting multiple goals in games. We're just not.
Nope, that's because our striking.
I mean, it should be okay every once in a while to give up a goal. I mean, Michelle Betos is dealing with a Thorns back line that's like wishy-washy and half injured at best. At its best, we're half injured. So, of course, you're going to give up a goal in a game. Of course, it's going to happen. So, the fact that we're not scoring enough goals to cancel that out is the bigger problem. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's like...
I'm defending Michelle Betos over Nadine Unger, which is something I never thought I would do last season, but it is happening.
Mm-hmm. I actually remember when Unger got that red card, and I think you had tweeted, "Oh yeah, you got Michelle Betos." # said no one ever. And now
I did.
No one...
I am eating my words about Michelle Betos and Jill Ellis, and I do not care because I like being wrong if it means good things are happening for my team.
Mm-hmm. I don't mind
being wrong.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah, I agree with you. I want to see Betos because I think by this time last season, Nadine had let in more goals than Betos has.
Yeah.
Nadine did not have a good last season. No. We think that she may have gotten a bit shaken by that red card.
Yeah, she wasn't the same after that. And here's the thing is that Betos is making incredible saves, too. She's allowing in a small amount of goals, not a lot of money. I mean, she's not allowing in multiple goals per game. There's no games where we're getting blown out.
It's because all the strikers are gone.
Yeah, that's a fair point. But, I just can't see. I can't foresee a reality in which Nadine looks better than Betos. This is one of those instances where the subject has surpassed the master.
Mm-hmm. Well, but I mean, she's also had the chance to train with Hope Solo too.
Yeah,
she was the backup for the Reign the first season.
Absolutely.
And Betos, and I think she may have been the head goalkeeper for the team in Norway or Sweden during the off season.
Some random.
John
country.
Probably knows.
Yeah, I think it was like Netherlands or some random country up there. That
so she's had the chance to work with 2 of the best goalkeepers in the world. She was a head goalkeeper for a while, and she has just performed excellently.
And here's the thing: I think all Thorns fans right now are just glomming onto the Michelle Betos bandwagon because there's literally nothing else to hold on to.
She is our hope.
She is.
Last hope. Is that that's the Star Wars? I think it's one of the Star Wars movies, like one of the prequels. Or no, not prequel. Sorry, I'm getting confused. I'm not a Star Wars person.
Star Trek.
Yeah, I am Star Trek, and I have no qualms admitting this. But yeah, she's been the only Betos has been the only bright spot in the Thorns roster.
And she's been a really big bright spot too. And that's why I think more the morale than anything else, because you've seen Betos give her heart in these games, and you've seen her in the interviews, and she wants it so bad. Maybe she wants it for herself to prove that she can fill this hole that Nadine left, and maybe she wants it for the team. I don't know. Whatever it is that's driving her is working, and if she were to get benched, would just be a slap in the face to all that she's put into for this team, because she's put in so much. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, John, we were asking where Betos played.
Oh.
I couldn't quite remember. I think he just messaged us.
Yeah, let's find out if we have an answer. I'm looking forward to it. Fortuna Horning, which is, I think, help me out here, Dutch? No, I don't know. I do know, but I can't remember. They always play in the Champions League. And, yeah, I've heard of them. And someone's going to tell me what country they're from, and I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, that country that I forgot existed. I want to say it's the
Canada?
one that's not Norway and not Sweden. Denmark. It's Denmark.
Oh, yeah.
Is it Denmark? It might not be Denmark.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not going to question you because I don't know myself.
Denmark. I knew it. Thanks, John. Yes. Huzzah. It's the one that's not Norway and not Sweden. Thank you, geography.
What do we think is going to happen to Io? Is she going to get benched? Probably
not. Who would
replace
her? Sink? Right? I mean, who would replace her? If Sink can play and we're running this formation with one forward that it seems like we have been running, then why would we not play Sink over her?
Well, because we only ran one forward. That's all we had.
Yeah.
But we got two now.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how, if Io will eventually have the chance to score better once she gets some better service, and there's someone else there to kind of take the pressure off. The thing with Io is that one, she's not too fast. Two, she falls a lot. Like, she is not an aggressive player.
She's kind of faster with the ball than she is without it, but she trips herself up with it.
I don't think she's used to the aggressive play out here. Like in Germany, you know, in the European leagues, they're not as aggressive as we are out here. And that kind of goes back to what Abby Wambach was saying with not wanting to play in the NWSL. It's like, at least before the World Cup, is that more likely to get injured. And I look at Io, and she puts her heart into it. She tries. There is no, kind of like what I've always said about Alex Morgan, about how there comes a point where you can see that she's just like, just let it go. You know, Io doesn't do that. And Io doesn't play as pretty as Alex. Alex has spectacular footwork. So I'm not like talking poorly of her. But Io her work rate reminds me a lot of Vero minus the finesse.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Io puts her heart into it. She
does, and I think
and I respect that more than anything.
Right. I had this conversation a little bit more in depth with Rachel the other day, and full disclosure, I was at work and wasn't able to watch the full Thorns match in depth, but Rachel did, and she said that Io was the hardest working person on the field, and I trust Rachel's opinion on that. And I can definitely see, I mean, when my sister was at the last home game against Sky Blue, she said that Io was her favorite there because she was putting in so much work. And I can see it, but at some point you just want results. At some point you're like, yeah, she's putting in a lot of work. Yeah, she's running back and forth, and yeah, she's on the defense, and yeah, she's running up to play forward. But score a goal, because it's your job. You know, at some point it stops. At some point you just need to produce that product, because it's her job to score goals, and she scored one of them. And so is Michelle Betos, and it's not her job to score goals. I mean, right? Am I wrong about that? Because it's, she's trying, but she's not succeeding.
Yeah, but I think it's very easy for us to sit back and just be like, you got to score goals. Just do it. Just put the ball in the back of the net. And,
I mean, it is easy for us, but it's her job.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be like me saying to you, you tell us whether or not that's asbestos, because that's your job. You know what I mean? Like, that is literally what you do for a living. And if you were to do it wrong every single time, the first couple times you'd be like, yeah, okay, he's new. Let him get used to it. But after your 7th month, we'd be like, really? Because this is what you're getting paid to do.
So she was one of the top 10 goal scorers in the Bundesliga.
I don't know her
something
stats.
like that. I heard that's what I've been hearing, and I wonder what formation she played in that allowed her to do
Right.
that.
I think there was a second person up there with her, but I think John watched those Bundesliga games more. So if you have a better idea of the formation, did she play with another, like was she more held back in the midfield maybe? Is that, she...
how high up did she play when she was in the Bundesliga?
I don't know. I want to say... Let's find out what her natural position is via Wikipedia. That seems like...
Got to start somewhere.
Because I felt like she was a strict, like pure forward when she played for Equatorial Guinea, but I may have been wrong about, because this is basing this on what I remember from 2011, so I may be wrong about that. I didn't really watch too many of their games. So it's she's saying her, according to Wikipedia, it's saying her national position is a striker, right? So.
But what does that mean?
I mean, it's not an attacking midfielder, for example.
Okay.
Who's being forced to play up or whatever. So.
Well, maybe we'll see something. Maybe once we get back the national teamers, and assuming that they're all healthy and can play,
right.
Maybe we'll see a change to Io and like what happens to her. I like her, and I know she's going to score. She's going to eventually. You can see that she is trying.
I mean, as Thorns fans, I think Portland fans, you don't have to win for us to appreciate you. We appreciate hard work more than anything else. I think that can be said for most of the fans across the board in this city, which is why I love it so much, because right now there's not a lot of winning to applaud. And so I mean, there's definitely that that you're working really hard, and we can see that, and you're trying. And we can see that, and we appreciate that. But there comes a point, and I think we're at that point now, where it's like, but now you've got to take that step further and actually produce.
Yep. No, I agree. I'm hinging, like, if Betos is the brightest star, like, on that team, I think Io is just she's there. She tries.
I wanted to love her like Barrow. I wanted her to replace
I did too.
Person.
You told me that I was going to. Like, everyone's going to love her. You were wrong.
I mean, I don't know. You can see her putting her heart into it. I mean, it's not for lack of trying. It's just for lack of producing. I don't know what it is. I mean, and imagine now with, if she couldn't do this without the national team players, without Becky Sauerbrunn, without Julie Johnston defending against her, without Hope Solo in goal. If she couldn't do this against the B teams for all of these club teams, how is she going to do it against the teams that are beefed up?
That's true.
How is she going to score against Hope Solo if she couldn't score against Cameron from Sky Blue?
That's true. But it could be that, I don't know. I just want to say that when the national team players come back, it's going to change the way the teams function. It'll be better service. You look at Ali Long, her best games were before the national team players left.
Yeah.
And she's good. Ali Long is good. She's been cocky and arrogant lately, and she has not produced enough results to be cocky and arrogant. But she's good, and her best games were with the national team players. And who knows, maybe Io will have that. Although what's going to happen is that the entire team is just going to be in disarray.
Yeah, it is.
And
we've seen it before. We know what to expect.
Nothing is really going to change. I'm just going to drink heavily.
I just hope my prediction for the next Thorns home match against Seattle is that we lose. I mean, you look at how Seattle's playing, and the only thing they're really changing is their goalkeeper. I mean, and you're including Megan Rapinoe, but you don't need to. I mean,
Fishlocks, damn good.
I mean,
her and Little together is just frightening.
I mean, for the most part, what they're doing isn't changing too much. So I feel like they just have the upper hand on us then. But so that's my prediction. My hope is that we just keep it to a 1-goal differential.
I hope it's just not a nasty loss.
Exactly.
And I'm hoping no one in the stands gets nasty towards Hope Solo, because I just can't handle that anymore.
John says we beat the living shit out of Seattle. I gotta hope. I mean, I want that to happen. I mean, it's just.
I want that to happen too.
I mean, if you're looking at just strictly the most recent games, and I know that's not the best indicator because the rosters are going to change so dramatically come the 22nd. I get that, but if you look at the most recent games, we couldn't hold it together against. Together against Sky Blue. And Seattle clobbered Western New York Flash. They clobbered them.
They did.
Lulled them into a false sense of security by letting them get that lead, and then they clobbered them.
They did, but I think the Flash did play well. I watched that match, and I was not expecting the Flash to score 2 goals against Seattle.
Yeah.
I was expecting that to be a much worse goal difference.
That's a good point. Yeah,
but the Flash did well.
Yeah.
In spite of losing, I think you can still lose well, and they lost well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Seattle's scary. And once they get Rapinoe and Solo back, it's.
And the scariest thing about Seattle is that they're not even the scariest team this year in Chicago. And Chicago is adding Kristen Press and Julie Johnston to their roster. That's what they're doing.
Well, we're going to see if Julie Johnston can function without Sauerbrunn.
Yeah, good point. She did it last year, so I don't know. I mean, 3 weeks ago, the Flash beat Seattle 3-0. I remember that game vaguely. Yeah.
That makes me happy to hear.
Yes. So, I mean, we'll see. Maybe it just throws things off a little bit. Maybe the back line's used to doing certain stuff with Kopenmeier or whatever her name is that they're not going to be used to doing with Solo, and maybe that throws things off a little. We'll see. I certainly hope that we win. I guess I've just been punched in the gut too many times in the last few weeks to...
Welcome to my dating life.
To have too much confidence, I should say. And everyone should note that all of my predictions are wrong. So
this is true.
So me predicting this is actually, having hope.
I anticipate if we lose Wednesday, we will win Sunday.
Yeah, I've got to think that we'll win at least one.
Yeah.
It would be sweeter
to win both.
It would be sweeter to win both, but I'm wondering if it'd be sweeter to win at Seattle. What do you think? I think it would be in my perfect world if there was a game we had to lose, between the two, if there was a game we had to lose, I think I might choose losing at home. Losing well at home, but beating out of them in Seattle.
Tough.
I don't know. I'm going to be there. We're going to be there. So.
That is tough. I want to see them win definitely at Seattle. One, because it's my birthday weekend.
Yes.
So
that reason alone,
they need to win.
It didn't happen last year on your birthday weekend.
Oh my God, no. That was depressing. What was that loss? 5-0?
I don't remember that game happened. I just remember being really drunk. No, that wasn't even me.
That was Kirsten.
I've mixed up my memories so much because I blacked it out. I wasn't even drinking that day.
Or probably because you confused it with all the other blowouts the Bulls have suffered.
That's the good thing is that we haven't gotten blown out this season. Knock on so much wood. Everything is, and there's no wood.
My floor's bamboo. My bookshelf.
We haven't gotten. John says JJ can indeed function without Sauerbrunn. Yes, she can, but I think we did see during the World Cup that she does have her weaknesses.
Mm-hmm. Oh, every player does.
And not Sauerbrunn. That would be the one player I'd say maybe she doesn't.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Even Carly Lloyd has weaknesses, but I don't think I've ever seen Sauerbrunn have a less than good game. She's always had good or better.
She had a great game against Seattle for last year's championship.
She didn't have a great game when we beat her 7-1.
Oh, that's true.
Oh, what do we think about Lauren Holiday retiring before Abby Wambach and Christy Rampone?
It kind of makes me sad. She has, it kind of makes me sad because no male athlete ever retires because he wants to focus on his family. Yeah. So, I think she has definitely earned the right to do every woman has earned the right. I don't want to say that you need to earn the right to do what you want. She's played well. She's like, okay, I've given 10 years of my life to this team. I am done. I want to focus on my family. Okay, fine. Do what you want. I would have preferred to see Abby or Rampone retire first.
I mean, it's hard to say. I'm not Lauren Holiday. I don't lead her life, and I'm obviously in a very different place in my life. That being said, we've seen so many great players come back after having children, which is what one assumes she means. Focusing on families, you assume she means she's going to have kids. That might be wrong. Maybe she just literally wants to spend more time with her husband and her adorable dog. But you've seen so many athletes come back from that and come back well. Amy Rodriguez, Christy Rampone, Shannon Box. That it's hard to be like, well, I want a family and now I have to sacrifice this. And that's me coming at it from I don't want kids and I like my career standpoint. So, take that with a grain of salt. But
very large grain of salt.
Yeah. I mean, then you've got Christy Rampone, who's got 2 freaking kids and, is still thinking she'll play in the Olympics. If nothing else, she'll definitely play for Sky Blue. So it's just kind of weird.
We got a message from Michael.
Yes.
The troll is watching. Hi, Michael. He says, I commend Lauren for retiring early to swim in J-Ru's NBA dollars. Who's J-Ru? Is that her husband? Who's she married to?
She's married to Drew Holiday, who plays for the Pelicans. He's a basketball player. He's like the franchise player for some team that no one cares about.
Some other sport with a ball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's the franchise player for New Orleans Pelicans. Is that right, Michael? He's like the big name on that team. He's not a big name in the NBA, but he's a big name on that team.
Okay.
So he probably gets paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that. I mean,
And she can retire and do that because her husband's making.
Mm-hmm. It's just sad. It's just sad as a fan of soccer to see this sport get a little less good. Because she's in her prime. She's 27 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She's in her prime. Watching her at the Seattle FCKC championship game last year was magical. She was the best player on the field. She was amazing.
Do you think she had a better game then than she did at the World Cup?
Yeah, I don't think she had any spectacular games during the World Cup. I think she held the team back during group play. She had a great goal
against Japan.
Yeah. She didn't know in Spain. That was a great goal. Yeah, for sure. But I don't know that she had a great tournament. I mean, but she's definitely the best player for, besides Sauerbrunn, who will always be the best player on any team she's on. She's definitely the best player on, Kansas City. So, and that sucks for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's finishing up the season, though, isn't she?
Yeah. And I think she'll do the victory tour or whatever. I don't know if she'll stay playing on domestic league. I don't know what she said. I didn't actually read the announcement of her retirement. I just kind of read what other people said about it. So,
she may not even be retired. She may not even be retiring from all of soccer, just from national duty, right? Or is she just completely done?
I don't know. Maybe she'll change her mind. I mean, it's entirely possible, right? If you assume she just wants to have children.
That's not a big deal. Get pregnant, squeeze one out in 9 months, give yourself about 2 months to recover and back on the pitch.
2 months, everyone. Ryan Brown, mark it down. 2 months to recover, to play full contact soccer after having a child pushed out of your vagina. Mark it down. Dr. Ryan says that's how long it takes.
Hey, the only person with probably a less accurate forecast than mine is Dr. Joe from the Fox Sports coverage.
Oh, I miss him. Oh, yeah, he was great.
Dr. Joe.
Yeah.
Oh man, he was great. Yeah.
I coincidentally, during the course of the World Cup, it's probably been about 3 weeks now, got the highest score I've ever gotten in Fantasy League ever in 2 years of doing it. And it was after I hadn't changed my lineup in 3 weeks. It was just an accidental high score.
Oh, I haven't looked at my fantasy team in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I haven't looked at my MLS fantasy team in a while either.
I just completely did not follow any of the advice that we had given all of you lovely people in the first 2 weeks of the season, where it was like, monitor which players are there, monitor the schedules, did none of that, and just solely focus on the World Cup, because this was huge. It was, for me, for any soccer fan, it was huge, but for me in particular, it was like the reason I moved out here and wanted to.
So Michael said Drew Holiday is not, and that's because there's like 4 O's in there, 5 O's. Nope, that's 4. Not the big player for New Orleans, but does make about $9 million per year.
Really? I guess it's because I know him because of Lauren Holiday, and I don't know anything about basketball, that I assume just because I know his name, he's a big player.
He's more well known among WOSO fans than among basketball fans.
Scratch what I said before about that. Also, just in general, if you hear me talking about basketball, assume that I am wrong about whatever I say, just in the future.
Same. That's why I don't talk about any other sport.
Just assume I'm wrong. Michael Jordan did great work for the Indiana Pacers. Another example of something that is wrong.
Wait, for the Indiana Pacers? The Chicago
He's catching up
Bulls?
to it. The joke. He's catching up to the joke.
Oh, he played for the Mets.
He did play for the Mets for a little while. Actually played for the
Well, he
White
did play.
Sox.
He did play baseball,
He
didn't he?
did.
Oh God.
Yes.
Well, that's the same time as when Dennis Rodman played hockey, right?
It was actually around the same time as Dennis Rodman marrying himself. That's a true fact.
That doesn't surprise me.
That is not one of the wrong things about basketball. Dennis Rodman married himself in a wedding dress. So.
Yeah.
And on that note,
What else do we want to talk
I don't
about?
know.
So we've talked extensively about the women, about bitchy Twitter,
Yeah.
and how much I'm liking most of Tumblr because it's less bitchy.
Right.
We've addressed the thorns,
Mhm.
national team players, welcoming fans, new fans. What else?
Be nice to new fans. If you see a new fan, at games, be nice to them.
And grab a couple extra Riveters chant sheets and get those into
Yeah, and
people's
just
hands
hand them out. Be nice to
tell
people.
them to stand up.
Just be nice to people. We want these people as part of our family because they make this league grow.
Mhm.
And if you see people on Twitter saying things that are wrong, let it be. Just let it be. Unless they're saying things that are mean and wrong, and then
Or engage them,
Yeah.
but do it in a respectful manner.
yeah, exactly. There's a way to have a conversation.
Mhm.
When I first met you, you didn't know very much about women's soccer.
I still don't.
You know so much about women's soccer. Are you kidding me?
I know more than I did.
Yeah, but I mean, it's about having that conversation and welcoming people into the community. Our friend Emily, another perfect example. New to the community, and you welcome them in. What?
Michael, and this was at you, says, you're a great friend, but sometimes you make me want to consume my own liver regarding other sport talk.
Is this about the Indiana Pacers, Michael? I know he didn't play for the Pacers. I was joking. I grew up in Chicago in
Michael,
the 90s.
two things happen when you're not here. One, we can't get the audio to function on the YouTube channel. Although, wait, is John watching this on the YouTube channel? Oh, thank you, John. Says I know plenty. That actually means a lot. Free hugs. This is your first.
Yes! John says free hugs to people. Maybe if you're not a fan of hugging people like I'm not, maybe just free
I'll hug
conversation.
people for you,
Thanks.
especially the cute guys.
There you go.
If they're of age.
Yeah.
I will hug them in your place.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I'll send them over to you.
There's a line.
Can you please clarify the eating your own liver comment, Michael? Just because I want to know what part of me sucking at other sports talk specifically annoys you, so I can do it more when I'm in your presence.
We just got to troll you, Michael, like you troll everyone else.
Yeah.
So, John, are you watching on our YouTube feed?
Or if anyone can just check on our YouTube feed and see if we have audio, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's one of those things we can't quite figure out if Michael's not here. And then we also just eat your liver with fava beans.
Yes. We can bring fava beans the next time we're at your place doing this podcast, Michael, if you want. And then you can eat your own liver when I decide to talk about
I'll bring
when I
liver
decide to
for
talk
Michael.
about minor league hockey. Yeah, we'll bring out the fava beans.
Speaking of minor league hockey, that was Scottie Pippen, right? Didn't
Yes.
he play? Wasn't he the big star?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Like
actually
zero.
played for the Blackhawks, the Winterhawks, who play in Portland. Yeah, he's really good.
Didn't he have like I don't know, something about 0 innings or whatever?
That was him.
I don't know what
Yeah.
that means.
Not on the YouTube this time. Only saw the Periscope link. I'm sure the Periscope link framing is just perfect, and that's why you decided to stick with that one.
All right, we'll have to watch the YouTube broadcast
Right.
and just see if it actually worked this time. What else do we want to discuss? Is there anything you guys want to bring up? John, Zach,
Michael.
Michael?
Maybe.
Oh, wait, actually, I don't really care what
I
Michael
don't care
has.
what Michael says either.
Yeah, I don't care. If Rachel were there, maybe.
Yeah.
Uh,
What does he say?
yes, YouTube audio. Wait. Also,
Yes!
if you want the to other sport troll me, you'd have to learn something about it first. Michael, there's no time to learn about other
There's no
sports.
time. I'm busy.
I don't recognize other sports, and there's just no
Yeah.
time for it.
I barely know enough about women's soccer to have a podcast, so I'm not about to start learning about basketball.
Ooh, I know we wanted to discuss. Didn't we talk about some of our favorite? We wanted to talk about some of our
yes.
favorites.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
I want pretty much the entire English women's national team.
Yes. So we want
Jody Taylor's coming back.
You guys talk to us about this. Just like okay. So you're all Thorns fans and you're all women's national team fans. Great. Who were the other players that you saw maybe for the first time during the World Cup that that you really liked?
Bronze.
Steph Houghton, Lucy Bronze. I fell in love with Steph Houghton. She was just the best captain of the World Cup.
Did you see the way she saved that goal against Germany? She kind of just went right. It's like she like a half bicycle kick. Was it or Japan? Japan. You're right. No, I think it was against Germany.
You're right. You know who's going to score that is Lucy Bronze. Almost got an own goal off her head, and Steph Houghton did a bicycle kick to save it. You guys, she did a bicycle kick to save it.
Houghton was awesome.
Oh, she was so good.
I fell in love with that team.
Yeah. Oh, me too. But
not
France,
just because of Mark
for me,
Sampson, but
it was. I think if you're discounting the U.S. Because they're always my number one, if you're taking them out of the equation, France. Wow, I fell in love with every single one of their players. All of them was special in some way, and then England, easy second place for me.
Yeah. I think it's probably, like, for me, England's first place. That's probably because I didn't expect as much from them, but watching them, and then the Laura Bassett thing, that broke my heart.
Yeah.
I still remember when I was watching the Mark Sampson interview. Oh. And Carla here, because she's such a great friend and she doesn't like to see me cry, I'm in my bedroom. And she just peeks her head in and she hears Mark Sampson's voice. And I'm kind of teary-eyed, just like, nope, you are on your own. And she turned around and went back into the kitchen.
I did. I was like, not going to listen to that. No, as soon as that, my personal experience, and you probably all have stories, so I'd love to hear them if you want to engage me in conversation with this. I was watching the game. My stream was about a minute behind my Twitter feed. I saw on Twitter 2-1 Japan. I didn't see what happened, but I stopped looking at Twitter and I was like, I got to pay attention. A goal was about to get scored. So I watched, and I'm watching. I'm like, England's got the ball. Like, what? Like, when's this goal going to get scored? And I saw it happen, and it was like slow motion. And then as soon as the whistle was blown, I just turned off my feed. I don't want to see these girls cry. They play their hearts out. So I didn't see anything that happened. I didn't see any post-game interviews. I refused to watch them because there's something that oh, yes, the Martins girl from the Netherlands was fantastic. The Netherlands team was great. They're another team.
They did well.
Lucy Bronze is a Liverpool girl, and I love her. Yes, that's John saying that.
I need to learn more. I want to learn more about the FAWS.
Yeah, I wish there was just a good, reliable way to watch it.
I don't understand this. So, like, I feel like the FAWSL, they probably pay more. And since they're affiliated with all the main Premier League clubs and also maybe the second division clubs, you would think that they could do better at broadcasting, like YouTube. If the NWSL broke little stepchild of the women's soccer world, well, maybe except in terms of how they promote. And if we can utilize YouTube to get the matches out to the people, the FAWSL can do the same thing. And I would clear some time in my already packed soccer schedule to watch a match if it was easier to come by. They can watch our stuff. Why can't we watch theirs?
Yeah. I would definitely watch. I mean, I have watched the bigger games, found like creepy ass under the rug links that mostly John has sent me, so thank you. But like it's just like these weird ass like 20 different ads pop up and you watch it and you're like, fine, this will do. But you basically have to scour the dark corners of the internet to find these random ass feeds. And
you know where a good place is to go for those? Tumblr.
Really?
There's a couple people on Tumblr who get those links and they post them. You just got to stay on top of it. You just message them. Who is it? So USWNT is her handle on Tumblr, and she routinely she'll take matches, like full national team matches, and just throw the link on Tumblr where you can find them. I think she might know where to do to get some FAWSL stuff as well. Yeah,
I mean, it's just that's the reason I like that NWSL does YouTube, because it makes it like there's no. You can't say it's not easy to watch. Nope. It's on YouTube. It's there. It's there. You can't say it's not. Sometimes there are bad broadcasts and technical errors. I mean, yeah, and then it's going to happen, and it's all frustrating when it does. But I mean, for the most part, it's there. It's on YouTube. There. You go to you type NWSL on YouTube, and it's the first thing that pops up. So it's hard to complain. And I wish that other countries would adopt that too. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so my little sister lives out in Richmond, Virginia, and I've been pestering her to go to a Spirit game, and she's going to if she can get her schedule lined up. But I've just been throwing her the YouTube links, and that's really helpful. I think she's actually watched part of a game. Well, I know she watched the Thorns match because I gave her that link, the last Thorns match where we lost embarrassingly. And
I almost prefer it to being a fan of the EPL as well and MLS. I almost prefer it to having it on Root Sport or whatever, because I know that I'll be able to find it on YouTube no matter what, and so I don't have to worry about if it's going to be on, NBC or what, if you use the app or whatever. Like, I don't have to worry about it. It's just like, I know it's on YouTube. I'll stream it through my Apple TV. Done.
Except for some of these matches that are going to be broadcast on Fox.
Right. And that is kind of the price you pay to getting it on a national.
My only complaint with that, and it kind of sucks. My big complaint, though, is that they're putting some of these matches on the Fox soccer app, which is horrible. And you have to pay an extra $20 a month for that thing. I'm like, so wait. You can get Fox Sports 1 as part of just, I guess, a basic sports package, basic cable package. And I'm kind of okay with that, with having the NWSL on that, because you're watching them on something that's already part of your cable deal.
Right.
What percentage of people actually have the Fox Soccer app? The Fox, I forget what it's called. You got to pay $20 a month for an app that they don't even bother to put a scoreboard or a timer on the damn thing.
Yeah.
And you want to charge me $20 a month for that to watch what is normally free or included into my sports package?
And yes, last year when it was ESPN, again, it was the same situation where you did need the cable subscription and blah, 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 blah. But the quality of the broadcast was so much greater that it almost made up for it. Like, we all have someone in our lives who can provide us a ESPN Comcast account number if we needed to watch the game. So it's minor inconvenience, and granted YouTube is better, but for the broadcast level quality upgrade you're getting, it's almost worth the extra effort to for me, texting my mom and saying, what's your Comcast password, whatever.
Well, I think us as Thorns fans, we're not going to have any issues dealing with Fox Sports,
right?
Because they're going to be broadcasting from Providence Park.
And
the home matches will be there.
Yeah.
It's for the people outside of who can't go to the matches. It's going to suck, and I kind of feel bad about that. But at the same
teams
time,
that we're playing, for example, those fans.
Yep, and I feel bad for them. But it's kind of the price of getting the NWSL some exposure.
Yeah. Totally agree.
So what else do we want to talk about? Do we got it?